Western Montana firefighting costs soar past $100 million. And Black Hawk helicopters arrive in northwest Montana to take on those wildfires. Plus, Whitefish residents come together to promote acceptance during a time of violence across the nation.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on KAJ, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, I'm Ariana Lake. New resources arrive in Kalispell to lead attacks on wildfires across our region. MTN's Nicole Miller talks to fire managers who say the Black Hawk helicopters that flew in today will play a vital role in keeping our community safe.
This is a Black Hawk helicopter, or UH-60.
The helicopter just arrived in northwest Montana and will boost initial attack capabilities on wildfires. The new piece of equipment was made available through the National Guard after Governor Bullock declared a state of emergency for wildfires. In the last 4 or 5 days, the northwest Montana fire organizations have suppressed over 50 wildfires, with all but 2 of those getting bigger than 10 acres. Fire manager Wyatt Frampton says the helicopter can hold 600 gallons of water in its bucket and can get into tighter and smaller water bodies, such as ponds. He says it will be a big help in keeping new fires small. All of northwest Montana remains in stage 2 fire restrictions and at extreme fire danger. Fire managers are treating any report of smoke with heavy-handed response. If you don't want the Black Hawk showing up on your doorstep, don't have any campfires. We can't tell the difference between a recreational fire and an actual wildfire. If we get a call of a smoke report, then we're going to be sending at least 5 fire engines and probably 2 helicopters. Reporting in Kalispell, Nicole Miller, MTN News.
And we are still dealing with extreme fire danger here in northwest Montana. Chief Meteorologist Erin Yost is forecasting rising temps this week. She joins us now with an update. Erin.
Yeah, today 82 degrees for our high. That's actually average for this time of year, but we are going to get a little bit warmer here over the next few days. With that, we are going to continue to see an increase in fire behavior. I'm sure you've noticed it was a little hazier out there today. That will also continue. We do have poor air qualities being reported, especially in the Bitterroot and around the Seeley Lake area. An air quality alert has been issued again until further notice for Missoula County, specifically Seeley Lake, and I will let you know if and when those are expanded. Right now, things, again, staying pretty dry, pretty warm for the extended forecast. All those details are on the way.
Thanks, Erin. Slightly windy weather today and yesterday continues to fuel the now 2,000-acre fire burning 7 miles east of Eureka. Fire managers say that in order to reduce the Gibraltar Ridge fire's threat to homes, ignitions took place this afternoon along the south side of the fire. The Deep Grave Creek Divide area will be placed under a temporary closure affecting all traffic. Residents were allowed back into their homes earlier this week, but you're still required to sign in and provide contact info at the checkpoint that's located at Lick Lake. Grave Creek Road and 10 Lakes Recreation Area remains closed, beginning at the junction of Grave Creek and Stoken Roads. So what's next for this? A public meeting to discuss efforts to fight the fire will be held at 6 p.m. on Thursday at Lincoln County High School in Eureka. The Rice Ridge Fire north of the town of Seeley Lake has now torched 12,100 acres. It is just 10% contained tonight. The evacuation warning issued within areas of Seeley Lake remains in effect, and residents are urged to be ready to get out if this fire gets worse. The waters of Seeley Lake are still closed to all recreation activities because those aircrafts continue scooping water. Next for this fire is a community meeting to talk about it at 6 p.m. on Thursday at Seeley Lake Elementary School. And the Liberty Fire between Arley and Seeley Lake has grown to 5,400 acres, but the good news here, it's almost completely contained. A pre-evacuation order that had been in place for residents living in the North and South Placid Lake area was lifted earlier this week. Firefighters continuing to monitor this fire. And the Tamarack Fire grows to 334 acres as it burns on Kootenai National Forest and Weyerhaeuser lands between Kalispell and Libby. A Type 2 incident management team has taken over command of this fire along with the nearby Peoples Fire. Peoples Fire has burned about 100 acres and is almost fully contained. 2017 is turning out to be one of the most expensive fire seasons in years for western Montana, with the tab for just the major fires passing the $100 million mark this week. The most most expensive fire to date is also the largest, the Sapphire Complex burning above Rock Creek. The trio of fires has cost over $20 million so far, with over 500 personnel working the fire. But the good news is containment is now over 40% of the 30,000-acre burn zone. And the newer Gibraltar Ridge fires already running up a big bill in the past week, costing $4 million for fire suppression to date. Other major fires on the tab include the Liberty Fire east of Arlee at nearly $9 million and the Park and Aroostook Creek fires near Lincoln, where their totals top $12 million. And tonight, the Helena City Commission calls for the removal of a Confederate Memorial in the city, citing fear of a violent outbreak in Helena due to the emotion surrounding this memorial. After the violent events in Charlottesville, Virginia over the weekend, the American Indian Caucus called for the memorial to be taken down. The fountain sits in Hill Park. It was commissioned over a century ago by the United Daughters of the Confederacy. It stands as a memorial to Confederate soldiers and has come under fire in the past. After a lengthy meeting tonight, the commission directed City Manager Ron Owls to begin removal of this memorial. And an emotional memorial service was held today for the woman killed when a white supremacist allegedly rammed his car into a crowd of protesters in Virginia. As Weijia Jiang reports, Heather Heyer's family, friends, and loved ones spoke passionately about her advocacy for equality, how her legacy of love will live on.
No father should have to do this.
Heather Heyer's father shared his pain during her memorial service in Charlottesville, Virginia.
I love my daughter. And as I look out on you guys, you loved her too.
The 32-year-old was killed while protesting a white supremacist gathering on Saturday.
I'm sorry, Heather, that it ended this way.
Friends and family remembered Heyer as a passionate advocate for equal rights and equal justice.
She wanted respect for everybody. In our family, all lives matter.
Heyer's mother said her daughter didn't die in vain.
I'd rather have my child, but by golly, if I got to give her up, we're going to make it count. We don't all have to die. We don't all have to sacrifice our lives. They tried to kill my child to shut her up. Well, guess what? You just magnified her.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine attended the service. Afterward, he said there was no place for bigotry in his state.
There are some white supremacists who have a bitter fantasy about Virginia, and they hate to see us move in another direction. So it's so often these outsiders who come here to try to drag us backward.
Senator Kaine said Virginia has scars from its racial history, and it doesn't need any more. Weijia Jiang, CBS News, Charlottesville.
Memorials for the two Charlottesville police officers killed in a helicopter crash on Saturday will be held later this week. And although folks right here in the Flathead are thousands of miles away from what's happening in Virginia, many people are showing support for those impacted and pledging to promote peace and acceptance. At a vigil last night in Whitefish, Montanans honored the life of Heather Heyer, who was killed in Virginia over the weekend. The event aimed to encourage equality and safety across the nation and in Whitefish, a community that was once the target of hate speech and white supremacists over the past couple years. The Love Lives Here Media and Communications Director told us the vigil wasn't only to mourn, but to keep fighting for a community that includes everyone.
Yes, we grieved and we mourned, and we also made a commitment that we are stronger together with each other, building a community that is inclusive and focused on equality.
There is a Love Not Hate rally this Saturday. It's at 4 p.m. in Columbia Falls. In your court news tonight, a Libby man is found guilty of deliberate homicide and tampering with evidence in the death of 30-year-old Sheena Devine. A Lincoln County jury found 42-year-old Trevor Joseph Mercier guilty last Thursday. According to court documents, Mercier killed Devine the night of October 5th at her home in Libby. A friend found her body the next day. In court documents, prosecutors say the two were in a relationship that ended before the murder. Then during trial testimony, a coroner testified Devine was strangled and beaten to death. Mercier's sentencing is set for October 10th. The Northwest Montana Fair and Rodeo officially kicks off today, promising several days full of carnival rides, rodeo action, and of course, some fried fair food. We spoke with the fair and rodeo manager for a few tips to stay safe while you enjoy the events.
First off, comfortable shoes. Yes, you can bring your water in or your Gatorades with you if you wish to. We want to have people stay hydrated, but we provide as much shade as we can. Bring a good hat. Bring a little sunscreen.
Flathead County Search and Rescue will be operating a first aid station, and Flathead County Sheriff's Posse will be securing the grounds from 8 a.m. until midnight. You can also check out 3 nights of PRCA Rodeo, go on a few carnival rides, and even check out a demolition derby. I do want to remind you that tomorrow is KAJ TV Day. Seniors 65 and older and kids 12 and under get free admission to the fair. Seniors can also buy a general admission pass to the Thursday night rodeo for just $10. You can get that at the Senior Citizens Rest area located west of the grandstand building. It's going to be a hot day tomorrow, and coming up, Erin says we'll also see smoky conditions. Her forecast and the latest on air quality is coming up. Plus, Governor Steve Bullock stops in Pablo to sign a bill focused on expanding tribal tourism. We'll have more on that in